Okay, I think we are live. I just want to double check a couple of things while people join. Let's see. This is my first time going live on YouTube through YouTube. I've done other lives through other platforms that shared to YouTube, but this is my first time with this interface. So I want to make sure I can see the chat. There we go. I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to join. I wanted to see if my post would show up when I shared over to Facebook, if it would actually start going live when I went live. Like if you would actually see the live on Facebook or if you just see the cover photo. So I'm checking that out right now. Just getting the hang of this, day one. If you're not watching live and you're watching the replay, still comment in the comment section because it helps the channel grow and it helps the algorithm feed it to more people. I have my coffee. Tell me where you're from in the comments and how do you like your coffee? Let's see. It's just another dashboard. I'm just learning the interface. So whether you're watching live or not, this chair is going to drive me crazy. I know it because it squeaks. I'm curious how many people watching this remember FAQ Fridays, which I did for like, I don't know, 10 years back at our old photography studio in Rhode Island. I no longer live in Rhode Island. I'm in Florida now, hence the palm decor. But yeah, I used to love going live every week and answering questions from photographers all over the world about photography business and branding and marketing and pricing and all the things. And we did that for like almost every Friday for many, many years. And it was actually on a whole bunch of different platforms. Like we were on Telegram for a while. There were Google Hangouts. Remember Google Hangouts? It's just funny to think how like business evolves alongside technology and just a few years difference. Now I'm on YouTube. I think it's the best place to be for what I want to be doing and sharing with you guys. I also spend a lot of time watching other interviews and other podcasters and other like fitness influencers, what I eat in a day. Like I feel like I'm always watching stuff like that on this platform as well. So I figured this would be a good place for me to be able to just go like live casually with my coffee and not have the whole big production or recordings. And then maybe if these are interesting and entertaining, I can turn them into podcast episodes pretty easily because I haven't been up to date on my podcast either. I want something that's pretty like fluid and easy to just upload and forget about it. So today, in today's show, we'll call it, I'm going to talk about why I'm starting this in the first place. So I'm going to be going live every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And I wanted to just share a little bit about the story about, first of all, what I've been doing in my business for the past 5 years. I haven't been marketing extremely heavily like I used to since we opened New England Photo Collective, we opened it in March of 2020, which was a really awesome time in the state of Rhode Island to open a new business. So we couldn't even really open it for 6 months. And then we had all sorts of regulations to deal with. So I haven't really been online or heavily promoting anything since those years. But I have had I've had a small online coaching group of women that we do monthly calls and we talk a lot about the stuff that I'm going to be bringing into this show. And this show is a way for me to get those ideas out to more people because they're experiencing some really cool results. In fact, I wanted to read a testimonial real quick from one of the students who's been in my coaching program, took one of my bigger courses called Unbound, which is an 8-week coaching program. But now she's gone free. So anyone can join She's Gone Free on a monthly basis. It's $27 a month, but you can use the code YouTube to save 50% off your membership. So it's a really low price point membership to have access to a lot of my teachings and a monthly coaching call with me. So this is what Carrie sent. Oh my God, Heidi Hope is an incredibly inspiring coach, mentor, and teacher. Thanks to her courses and coaching, I can now do, be, and have anything I want. I want a new car? Done. Drive off the lot with a car in an hour. I want a new apartment near the water in an elite neighborhood? Done. No questions asked, no credit check, no security deposit. Just move in when I'm ready. She goes on a little bit more, but she said, Heidi literally guided me to give myself permission to find my own power and create my own prosperity. Thanks to her positive energy and creative spirit, I've been able to go from a single mom living in government housing to creating the life of my dreams. I've even traveled to 6 European countries and 28 US states since meeting her, and I leave for Switzerland next week. Thank you, Heidi. So I actually just got that in my inbox on June 25th. And thank you, Carrie, for that testimonial. I've been getting testimonials coming in like that from people that I've worked with over the years. And I felt like I know that the techniques that I teach have made a big impact in my life and what I've been able to create for myself, manifest for myself, deliberately design for myself. But once it starts working for other people and you start gathering proof and testimonials, then it just makes you feel a little bit more confident in the method. It feels like maybe it's not just a one-off thing. So that's part of why I started the show. There's a few other reasons, which I'll get into too. So I did want to give you a little background for anybody who's never seen this channel before. If it's just popping up in your algorithm, say hi in the chat and hit the like button, and you can subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, and you'll get notifications every time I go live, which is going to be every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. with my coffee. So originally I was a high school art and photography teacher. I did that for 5 years, just over 5 years, before I had my first daughter, Juliana. And then I took a year off, maternity leaving from teaching. I started a little photography business on the side, just to like make extra grocery money. But I really fell in love. I had already been on the website Flickr. Any photographers remember Flickr? I'd already been on that website and had an account because I used to use it to show examples to my photography students when I was a high school photography teacher. So if I was looking for leading lines or a certain composition, I would go on Flickr, search for that, and then use it to show them examples. So after I had Juliana, I wanted to take newborn photos of her. And I was already doing a few little family sessions for people that I knew through teaching or whatever. And I searched all over Flickr and I found the work of Kelly Ryden and Tracy Raver, who were like kind of pioneers in the field at that time. And they did a pullback of their whole setup, and they were set up at like a sliding glass door. I think the baby was on a beanbag or some other surface at the time. And like, to me, that setup looked like I could do that. And I love babies. So I started practicing with my daughter, and I totally fell in love with the process. Like I just lost myself in the flow state of like doing something that I loved, and capturing all the beauty of newborns. So that's what I decided to specialize in. And when I started that style of newborn photography, it was really new to my area. We were up in Worcester, Massachusetts at the time. So it was like the Boston market. And then we ended up moving to Rhode Island the next year. So it was like the Rhode Island and Boston market. So because what I was doing was so different from what everybody else was doing at the time, it took off really fast, like crazy fast. I needed my husband to come help me in the business. It was just kind of overwhelming. I was working a lot right away. So we built that. We owned 3 different studios. We opened a photo collective right before we ended up selling it all and moving down here. So we had many really successful years in business. And I was a speaker in the photography industry, would speak and teach at conferences and things like that. And then we decided to sell it all and move down here for a number of reasons. That's too deep to get into for the first episode. But when we did, I really was able to press pause. Sean was always doing real estate, but when we got down here, there's a lot more opportunity. And I was able to kind of like take a little break from the gas pedal on my business and kind of support him in his career, being more demanding. So So yeah, so when we got here, I kind of pressed pause on all of it, and I still had my online programs, and I've been painting. I've been doing a lot of artwork, which really part of that is just getting into flow state for me, and which I'll talk about quite a bit how important that is to peak performance in your life. So I'm going to actually share some of my creative projects on this show, which will be a fun way to like inspire people and just share what I'm up to and market. Another reason I started this up is because it was really like out of challenge, adversity, difficulty. When we moved down here, my email list was like over 30,000 people from 15 years of lead generation and marketing, and through, all the contests and the giveaways and the different collaborations and things that I did with other artists or other photographers or other teachers. So even though I was moving here where nobody knew me, I had no brand recognition. I was starting from scratch really in whatever it was that I wanted to pursue next. I always had that email list as a cushion for myself because I could always send an email out and have thousands of people view it. And if I was trying to sell a new product or service, then I have that audience for that. And about a year after we moved here, I got an email. I was using Flowdesk as my email provider, and there was a law changed. And because so many of my email addresses came from CSV files, which is basically like the spreadsheet that you import email addresses into your system, because so many of them came from CSVs, they needed new information. They needed, I guess, information about the what is it, like the IP address of every computer where it submitted the email address from. And like, of course, some of them were really old. So if I was importing from lead pages or some other source, I didn't have that data. So basically, I lost my list unless I wanted to go in and try to find every original CSV and re-download it with all of the correct information on it. And I did not want to do that. I was like, this is a sign. It's over. Just cut it. Moving on to something new. This is I knew inside that it was time to like reinvent the wheel, but I just didn't know what that looked like yet. And so that was a very like door shut in my face. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Or, well, we're not going to the old list. We're going to build something new. And so I just have been thinking a lot about how do I reach people now that I don't have the crutch of that list anymore? Like how can I still share my offerings and my art and all of that? And because I'm now using YouTube and watching people on YouTube, I just thought it's a great way to get up here and like share ideas, inspiration. I'm going to be putting my library of old course material on this channel. So you're going to see lots of stuff surrounding photography and photography business in my regular video section. But this live is really a discussion more about like the behind the scenes and the everyday life of being a creative entrepreneur for 20 years. And then some of the work I really love doing, which is in the field of human potential. And that's what my coaching membership is about. She's gone free. It really is about like, if you're somebody who wants something to change in your life, how do you get unstuck or remove the blocks and really create the greatest vision for yourself and achieve more than you ever thought possible? So we talk about peak performance. We talk about changing your energy. Changing your energy is the biggest part. And that is why I decided to name the show Miracle Mornings, because maybe 10 years ago or more than that, I'm trying to think. It was actually it was before my second daughter was born. That's when I started my meditation practice. Learning, I have a very like creative ADHD, anxious type of brain, and or used to, I would say. I think a lot of that's changed. But I used to have I was really living in survival mode and experienced a lot of burnout in my business and all that. And so I wasn't creating from a good place. I was creating from a place that gets you burnt out very easily because you're just overdoing it and you're like you have a lot of imbalances chemically within your body. Um, Actually, one of the books I'll probably talk a lot about is Becoming Supernatural. This is a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Um, this I didn't find this until after we closed our second studio. So this was 2018 when I started studying his work. But long before that, I had found a book called A Course in Miracles. And one of the main principles is that a miracle is just a shift from fear to love. And when we can do that in our lives, we are able to accomplish things that we never thought possible. And that I've practiced this for over a decade, and I truly believe that. Joe Dispenza says that if you can get your body, and he has a lot of science in here, and that's why I like it, because it's not super woo woo. Like, I mean, it's a little woo woo, but it backs it up with a ton of science. And so for the skeptics out there, I really like this book. And he's still studying. He's works. Lots of other doctors are working with him now, and people are measuring biological indicators of how this type of work actually can change the human body. So I've been practicing A Course in Miracles, which is more spiritual psychology practice. I've been practicing that for over a decade. And then his work I've been practicing since 2018. And then I created a whole program around the combination of a lot of these ideas that connect psychology and what's coming out scientifically, and then what I've learned about energy practices, energy healing. Like, he teaches a breath in this book, which is basically a Kundalini breath. It's like trying to free the energy from your lower chakras up to your crown chakra. And then he has, like, brain caps on people, and he's measuring heart coherence and brain coherence while people are meditating he does like week-long retreats. And so there's a lot of information coming out about, like, after 7 days of this, how your telomeres are longer, and you have a lot of biological and hormonal indicators that you have upgraded your biology through these practices. So that's really interesting to me. And then this is another book, actually. She talks about, this is The Energy Codes. It's by Dr. Sue Morter. I'm in the middle of this. I haven't even finished it yet. But her breath is the same breath as his breath. She calls it channel breath. And this has been around for thousands of years, and there's a lot of science behind why breath work works and what it does. And we can get into all that on a different day. But she describes that same breath. So the purpose of it is to change your energetic state, to change, because whatever you're feeling as emotions, it's like causing biological change within your body. And if you're somebody who's constantly anxious or in survival mode, or fear, anxiety about the future, worrying about things, or reminiscing over the past, or replaying traumas from the past, if you dwell on stuff like that and you keep replaying them, you're bringing up the chemicals in your body that are the response to those thoughts. So if you're thinking about trauma, let's say, your brain doesn't know the difference between that it was happening then or it's happening now. And so your body's producing a chemical response to that thought. Same with if you think about something amazing, a vision for the future, something loving, something that you'd be super grateful about, when you bring about those emotions and thoughts. My dog's trying to get in. Maybe she'll make an appearance. When you think about those emotions and thoughts, you're bringing up a whole different set of chemical reactions within your body, your emotions. And so the principle behind Joe Dispenza's work is that if you can change your state of being, the biology of your body, from being in survival mode to being in creation mode, which is fear to love, right? Then you're much more powerful as a creator. If you're creating out of survival, which I've done before in a business, I've created from lack, I've created from fear of the future, I created a lot of wealth from, and you can do it. You can be an angry person, a fearful person, a burnt out person, and still create. And you could still even create wealth. There's plenty of, like, miserable, wealthy people out there. But it's a lot harder. It's like going through mud. you can also create from a really joyful place. You can create from a strong vision of the future that like magnetizes you to it, that like every time you think about that vision, you get lit up inside. And when you create from passion and joy and excitement and enthusiasm and inspiration, and you rehearse, for a lot of people, you have to rehearse those feelings every single day, which is why a meditation practice is so powerful. If you can rehearse those better thoughts and visions instead of being focused on the past or fear of the future, if you can train your body to release those chemicals like oxytocin, and your inner state begins to change. And on a regular basis, you're feeling good more often. And when you practice that feeling good more often, then you don't want to feel bad anymore. You're not addicted to the old thought patterns. You're not, if you grew up feeling a lot of lack, or you have some money blocks, well, we definitely should talk about money blocks. But if you grew up with a lot of lack or money blocks or whatever, and then you want something else, you want abundance, you want to be financially free, you want wealth, or you just want your bills to be paid, or you just want to take that vacation. If you've always grown up with a different mindset and thought pattern, and then our bodies react to our thoughts with emotions, and our bodies release different chemical combinations based on those emotions, your body becomes addicted to its own chemical state and the emotions and the thoughts that it's always feeling. And then we behave out of those, and then we take action out of those, and then those become our reality, and we just keep attracting more of the same thing to us. And that's why people get stuck in negative patterns. And so if we can practice a new thought system, a new way to create, practice elevated emotions on a regular basis, change our inner biology, we begin to act and behave out of those different internal states, and then our reality begins to match that. So what we're attracting to us is more of what we are. That's pretty simple. What we attract to us is more of what we are. So if you don't like what you see, how do you change it? Starting within. And so that's what a lot of this work is about. I really love it. I'm so passionate about it because I've seen so many changes in the lives of the women that I've been working with. Our group, so it is called She's Gone Free. And if you go to HeidiHopeLearning.com, you can find all my courses. So I have a business course for photographers. I have a beginner's course called Master Digital Photography, just to learn the basics of digital photography. And then we have the She's Gone Free membership. And that is all women, because I do go more into women, and men do have different biology and different hormonal cycles. And I talk a lot about the creative cycle and like tapping into your energy at different times of the month and everything. And so that is all women in there, because I go into all that stuff. And it wouldn't be interesting, I think, to somebody who has a different system. But a lot of the system is designed for men and the 24-hour cycle, but women have a different cycle. So we talk about some of that too, especially when we get into like creativity and when to really push in your business and all that stuff. But not everybody in there is a business owner. There are quite a few people who've actually left their jobs and they're transitioning into another part of life. And we go into how hard that is too, because I have been through that. It is hard. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to share with you guys some of my projects. So I will be sharing books, like some of my favorite books, which I've already shared some today. And then I want to also be able to share with you some of my creative projects and my art. So one fun thing that I'm working on right now is I'm doing these little like paint party bags, and they're going to include postcards. It's basically like, so I teach paint parties locally, but this would be for a party where you don't want an instructor, where people just kind of can paint on their own. And so they're postcards, and they include watercolor paints and some instructions, and I can do them to like match different parties with minimum order numbers. But I'm already doing like a St. Augustine one, and there'll be like a cocktail girls night one and all that. So these are some of the, and then it's a postcard on the back, so you could send it. Why is that like, it's like opposite on the camera with what I'm doing. So these are some of the ones from St. Augustine. And it's just meant to be fun, like to gather together with a group of people and you just do the watercolors and, So I'm going to do a kids one too. and do probably a Christmas one too, like a holiday one. So it'd be a fun thing for holiday parties. The adult bags are meant for up to 4 people to share. So it's like a pretty inexpensive little activity for you to just do when you get together with your friends. And it's creative and it gets you into flow state. And flow state is an important component for peak performance, um, which I love talking about too, clearly. Okay. So, one of the reasons I waited so long to do this, because it's been on my mind for over a year, but I kind of keep pushing it off. Mm. But I realize now, I just got coffee on myself. I could have keep pushing it off forever, really. I mean, sometimes you just have to hit the go live button and do it. Even if nobody's going to watch the first couple, it's just good to like start. So one of the things that was holding me back really was people who are skeptical, because a lot of this work I do in my personal life and I share it in a very small group of women that I coach. And we love talking about all this, but it's not something that I'm out talking about. Like if we're out to dinner with another couple or something, like I just don't get into metaphysics and quantum physics and spirituality and my meditation practice and human potential. And like, it's just not my everyday conversation. Although I always would love to talk about it if anybody else is interested in it. But there are a lot of people interested in it, and it does work, which is fascinating. And I knew that I wanted to share it on a bigger platform. It's just, I think skeptics a little bit held me back from being like, people being like, that's not real, that's woo woo. Heidi's lost her mind. But I think everybody feels like that when they're passionate about something. You're like, people are going to think I'm crazy talking about this. But I was actually on a walk with one of my good friends from college, and I was telling her about how I wanted to start this show up and a little bit about this, and I was telling her about Joe Dispenza's work. Now, her background is biology and then law. So she's a pharmaceutical patent lawyer. So super sciencey. And when I was telling her about it, she started to get really excited and like interested and wanted to know more. And she was saying like that she had gone through IVF and had a few failed rounds. And then when she just had a baby girl, and she was saying that what was different about the time that it worked was she started incorporating meditations, visualizations, like all the stuff that I was talking to her about, how fascinating it is to me, how much this can affect human biology. And she was like, I just experienced that myself. So like, I'm fascinated to know more about like why that worked, how that worked, and that's what I love studying too. So after my super sciencey law friend was like, tell me more, I was like, okay, I think that, there could be an audience that wants to hear about this stuff. So if you've enjoyed listening, hit the like button, leave me a comment, please. It really helps the channel, because this channel has been stagnant for a long time. And it was probably all photography business in the past. So it would really help the channel grow. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like whatever. I'll probably be doing some giveaways of my artwork for people in the comment sections too. So that will be fun. I'm doing hand painted ornaments again this year. Those were a big hit last year and they sold out really quickly. So I'll actually be sharing the designs on here before I fully release, because again, I'm not going to be emailing my email list anymore. So I'm just going to plan to announce everything on here and do everything on here. Beneath each show, there will be links for all my stuff. So HeidiHopeLearning.com is where all those courses are. HeidiHopeArt.com is where you can get all my art products, prints, the hand-painted ornaments. They're on pre-order already if you're interested in those. Yeah, and that's it. So I don't see any questions, but if you leave a question, if you see this later, you watch the replay, or you're listening to it on your commute, or you're listening to it on your walk or whatever, get your steps in with your weighted vest and your creatine, the midlife pack, starter pack. Please take time to leave a comment or a question if you have one, or what you'd like me to talk about next, or what you'd like to learn more about. And I'd be happy to talk about it in the next show. So thanks for being here, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.